What's up, bro? Yo. I'm over I'm over here waiting for Mike Guido. What's good? My guest is a little late, so we're gonna have to wait for him. Let's see what's going on with him. There we go. Mr. Guido!
Howdy doody.
What's up, man?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm good. All Even Podcast, Barry Grant, my man Mike Guido, SB Nation, Guido Factor. So
I just want to let you know, Barry, that, and I should have told you this before, but SB Nation Radio is rebranded to Sports Map Radio.
Sports Map Radio.
Sports Map Radio.
Here we go. So listen, Sports Map Radio. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So look, let's just jump right into it, man. Major League Baseball. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, in terms of what? On whether or not I think the season's going to happen or no?
Well, these new safety protocols that they put in. What do you think about them?
Well, here, this is what I've been thinking about this whole safety thing for a while. Regardless of what the safety protocols are, the original ones that they had in place, I think, were working just fine. The only thing is that you had up until the Cardinals breakout, right? So this is before the Cardinal breakout happened first.
Right.
You had 900 Major League Baseball players that were active on Major League rosters. That doesn't include staff. That doesn't include players at alternate sites. That doesn't include anybody else other than that. So out of all of those people, it's going to be something over 1,000 something people. They only had 29 positive tests as of like last week. So I was thinking to myself, like, you are at such a low percentage of positive tests. To me, it's not whether or not you think it's safe enough. To me, it's whether or not you're comfortable with positive tests, because positive tests are going to happen. So if you're comfortable with that, then push through it. If you're not comfortable with positive tests, then either you have two options: either shut down the season, or whenever you get a positive test of any player on any team, you have to shut that team down for 2 weeks. And I don't think that's a viable option.
Well, I mean, I get that, positive tests can happen. You gotta live with it. But look at the NBA; they have no positive tests. They're proving that the bubble works. So my point is like, all right, Major League Baseball is doing it this way. NFL is probably going to follow the same type of like format.
The NFL's not doing a bubble. They're not
going to do a bubble. This can be a bad thing for the NFL too. Like, one positive case can just kind of snowball and go bad.
Right.
So let's see how bad it gets in Major League Baseball before we actually say if they can kind of like fight through it. Because if the cases start to rise, if they start to double, if they start to triple, they're going to have a real bad situation on their hands. And Manfred, he might as well just put in his pink slip, because I don't see how he recovers from this. I really don't. Baseball already has a foul odor on it right now.
Yeah.
And it can't get any worse. You know what I mean? It could get any worse, but we're hoping that it doesn't get any worse.
Right. Yeah. Here's the thing, though, is like, what do you consider, like, what would be the breaking point? Like, what would you consider as the breaking point where you say, okay, Major League Baseball, you got to halt production right now?
My breaking point, 150 tests, 150 positives.
Okay, so you're dealing with, so that would make it roughly like what, 17-ish%?
right.
of the players or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I mean,
that is a serious outbreak. 150 cases. You're not going to be able to contain that, in my opinion. You really don't.
that's the thing, though, is like now, you're less concerned about the players themselves, right? You're more concerned about the people they're bringing it home to.
Yeah, listen, I'm concerned for both. I'm more concerned about the people that they're bringing it home to.
But
Definitely.
here's the thing, Barry.
They're not being responsible, bro. Like I can't understand how now athletes, they're spoiled. They're spoiled brats. All you gotta do is just follow the rules for a little bit. We're not telling you to do this for 10 years of your life.
I agree. But here's my big thing is that in order for Major League Baseball to be worried about if they're not worried about the players, they're worried about the people that they're bringing it home to, they have to be certain that the players are getting the virus at work, right? Or if they're getting the virus while they're at the stadium or while they're at practice or in the clubhouse or anything like that, they have to be certain that is where they're getting the virus, okay? Because I still think that there's a legitimate chance that, most of these players that are getting the virus are not getting it while they're playing. They're getting it while they're going out to restaurants and they're going shopping. They're doing whatever. They're getting the virus outside of work. You know what I mean? Like that would be my first inclination. So they might already be bringing it home because if they're not getting it while they're on the field, they're not getting it while they're at work, then that's really out of Major League Baseball's control.
I mean, now I get you. I mean, I think the players have to be more responsible. It falls on the players first, I think. Like, I've given Manfred a ton of shit, right? But I don't think that it's completely on him right now. Like, the players have to do a better job at policing themselves. You know what I mean? Like they're not doing that. Like just think about the Cardinals, bro. They went to a casino. Like of all the things to do, you go to a casino.
Yeah, I know. No, well, yeah, like those sorts of decisions. I think you have to, the players need to take more responsibility for that. But again, keep this in mind: if they are going to a casino and they are doing those things, then Major League Baseball changing their protocols doesn't have anything to do with that. It has everything to do with the players on their own terms, right? The NBA has this is why I don't think you should compare Major League Baseball to the NBA. Okay, the NBA players are not more they're not more well behaved. I'll say that. They're just they don't have a choice but to not leave. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
I mean that's fair, but at the same time though, Major League Baseball has put in a safety officer. Why are you giving every team a safety officer if they're not trying to police these players? That they're really trying to keep a handle on it. And putting that safety officer there is the main reason why they're doing it.
So this entire discussion that we're having, I think it leads me to a particular conclusion, and I've had it for at least a few weeks, or maybe even longer, because I originated it with the NBA. I didn't associate it as much with Major League Baseball because I didn't think they were as much of a league that would care about this more like the NBA. But to me, this is all about optics. It is all like the NBA bubble plan and the NBA safety protocols within the bubble have zero to do with protecting the players. It has everything to do with looking good on Twitter. Like that's the way that I see it. Because think about it. And I don't want to branch too far off into the NBA, but just to give you an example, the NBA had tested 346 players. All of 346 players have tested negative. They haven't gotten a positive test since July 29th, right? All the positives have now been tested negative. Everybody is cleared. No, there are no problems in the bubble now, right? Everybody is negative. Every single person in the bubble is negative. Yet the NBA is still mandating that they wear a mask in the common area. Like that, if everybody's negative, what are you protecting them from? Okay, you're protecting them from nothing.
Well, I mean, think about it. It's basically it's an optics issue. You're right. Like, we want our sporting leagues to look responsible. If your athletes are wearing masks and you're a fan of sports, you will follow suit. So it's kind of like trying to set an example of what we should be doing. Now, everybody doesn't have the same opinions in regards to mask or no mask, but I just think that we should all just try to be uniform, and they're trying to do that. So putting out that optic is actually a good thing. You know what I mean? Whether they're trying to, you know, keep their sponsors happy or whatever it is, it just looks good. And if Major League Baseball does that, they now can get into that realm of positive optics, because they haven't been in positive optics in a long time. Right. So they're trying to get there. So and NFL has a problem with that too. So hopefully they'll get there.
Yeah, but I guess it depends on the message you're trying to send, right?
Yeah.
Like, the thing is I agree. I think that the NBA and all of these professional sports leagues are, I don't want to say that they're responsible, but they should have an initiative to push out positive message, right? Like, it isn't their responsibility, but they should at least have a priority of that.
Yeah.
The thing that I have a problem with is that I don't think that they're pushing a so-called, I'll quote it, a quote positive message, but more an overly cautious one. Like, I think in the fact that they're throwing all of these optical protocols out there and having masks being worn when there's no positive tests in the area, everybody's got a social distance still. Like, you know, they'll justify playing when guys are bleeding and spitting and sweating all over each other, but they got to wear a mask and socially distance when they play ping pong. Like, I think it's a little crazy. So that my thing is that, yeah, they're spreading a message of, all right, wear a mask when you're out in public and all those things, and that's great, that's fine, but you're also spreading a dishonest message, because if there are no positive tests, all you're doing is heightening the fear of something that isn't there. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I was having this conversation with my dad a while ago too. He's like, well, why not be that, you know, why not just be that extra careful?
Exactly.
And I get that point. I get the point where you want to just be like a little, you know, like the just in case kind of thing. I get that. But you can't do the just in case unless you know, accept the fact that you're justifying playing anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you can have all these protocols and that's fine, but having all of these protocols for things that aren't as technically dangerous and as in close contact as playing, that's a little different to me. I mean, plus, we also got a good comment on the live that for Major League Baseball, you know, it's funny how all these protocols are in place, yet this is the sport that, you know, has the most social distancing. It has the most distancing. Nobody's near each other. You know,
yeah, exactly. So, like, it's true. Like, everybody's pretty much like 90 feet away from each other, and not even counting the outfield. So it's like, I get it, but I don't know, man. I want baseball to get their act together, and for the longest, it seems like Manfred has been like stumbling ever since he's took the job. I don't know if you agree, Mike. It seems like he's always trying to catch up, like he's stumbling over himself. And then
I think it seems that way. I don't think that that's actually the case, though.
Yeah,
I think it looks that way because I am a genuine believer in social media automatically making you look worse. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody out there were to pull a quote from what we're doing right now without any context, and we're saying something, like, people are going to say, like, oh, you hear what that guy Guido said? He said, oh, yeah, don't wear a mask. It's pointless. Like, no, that's not what I said, but they're going to pull that out of what I say and have it be that. So I think.
Listen, I'm going to pull that on you. I'm going to pull that on you.
That's, yeah, right. Yeah, just wait. But no, but in all seriousness, I think Manfred, I've given Manfred a lot of crap too. I've also defended Manfred a bunch of times, but
I can't see me defending Manfred anytime soon. I get
listen,
you.
I've accepted the fact that I'm in the minority in that discussion,
Yeah.
but it's just, I am a genuine believer in the fact that social media absolutely makes you look worse. Okay, like all of the things that would have happened in the '80s and the '90s and everything like that, all those, all that stuff happened today. It happened back then too. It's just we didn't have a place to plaster our emotions on it.
Yeah, nah, it's true. You're right. You're right. All right, so serious question: does Major League Baseball finish the season?
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
And
how many games do they finish?
I think if one more team has an outbreak, they're going to call it quits. So I think it could be. I think it could be before the beginning of September that we're done. And it's listen. I hate saying that because you and I have known each other for a good amount of time now. You know how much I love baseball. I know how much you love baseball.
Right.
Like it's just like, and especially postseason baseball. Postseason baseball it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we're gonna finish it. And it's not because we were talking a little bit earlier today. It's not because I think that that it's going to be too dangerous. I don't think it's going to be too dangerous. I think that Major League Baseball is going to chicken out. I think they are going to. What they're going to do is they're going to see a little bit more in positive testing, and they're going to be afraid to send teams out. They're going to get a lot of backlash on social media saying that they shouldn't be playing. They're not important right now. It's not a top priority, and they're going to get bashed for it. They're going to get a lot of backlash for it, and Major League Baseball is going to be like, you know what? Where the focus isn't even on baseball anymore. We're not drawing any ratings because the focus isn't on baseball. Yeah. And I think they're going to end up calling it quits. As much as I hate to say that, I think honestly, the big thing is I think Major League Baseball is going to chicken out and they won't finish.
Yeah, we got a question right here that says that do you think Major League Baseball will shorten the season and just head right into the playoffs? I mean,
no.
Hockey did it. I don't think they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
They already cut 100 games out.
Yeah, there's no way they can cut it any shorter than what they're doing right now because it wouldn't even make sense. It wouldn't even make sense. Like, yeah, right. Listen, I'm with you, bro. Like, I don't think that they get through the season. I think that what happens is that, like you said, they're going to have an outbreak with one or two other teams. They're going to mass panic, shut it down, and my personal opinion is going to feel like the strike of '94, right? Where
you know what? Yeah.
Where baseball is going to have a hard time coming back in the public eye. People are just going to be so disgusted with it that it's going to be hard for them to sell baseball again. And remember, what brought baseball back was the summer of '98. Like, we had great seasons after that, but the '98 summer with McGwire and
Sosa,
that brought baseball back. Like, I had people in my family talking about, did you see Sammy Sosa? I'm like, do you even know who Sammy Sosa is? But that's what they had. They had that type of energy, and if they cancel or shut down, I can't see how they can be able to recreate that energy, man. It's going to be hard.
Now, do you think they should? You think they should shut down or no?
I think they should, yeah. I think they should. I really do think they should. I think it has gotten to the point where they're just going to keep, like, running after. They're just going to keep falling behind. They're never going to catch up. They're always going to be behind. And what's the sense? If you can't get in front of it and you're always running after it, you might as well just give it up. Because they didn't have a great plan going forward, in my opinion, like when they started. And we saw the ramifications of that. Now you're trying to do things a little better. I just think it's too late, man. It's sad because there's a lot of good baseball that's going on. The Twins look great. There's so many good stories around the league that
Yankees, I think, are 8-1.
Yeah, the Yankees. Like, look what Aaron Judge is doing right now. Like, he's locked in. it takes away from what's really going on in the sport. Like the sport is great. It's just that everything around it, man, all of this black cloud, it's not going to get lifted. It's not going to get lifted, man.
So I want to follow up on that too. At what point does baseball go back to normal then? Like, it's because if that's the case, that means sports as a whole, and that includes the NFL, that includes everything else, college football, that includes everything. If that's the thing, is if that's the line that Major League Baseball is going to draw, and they're going to say, all right, we're done, and sports are just done, that, like, at what point do you feel comfortable in saying, okay, we'll bring it back?
Honestly, my personal opinion in regards to baseball, I don't think baseball is going to. I don't think we should have baseball until probably 2022. It's just my opinion.
So you're out on baseball for 2 years.
I'm out on baseball for 2 years because if you can't figure out, if you're not going to do a bubble situation, which you say they're not going to do, the NFL is not going to do, I don't see it working. I just don't see it working. Like, you have two sports right now, hockey and basketball, that have a bubble situation that's successful. If they can create something like that, that's not so
yes,
not
but
one particular. I don't know. It might not be possible for them to do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it just may not be possible due to the fact that you have so many staffers, you have so many players, all of these things. It may not be possible.
Yeah,
so
the bubble is working in the fact where there's no positive tests.
Right.
But it depends on what you consider successful. Again, like that's what I think. Like, the perception of the virus, I think, is off. I don't think that it is like I genuinely do believe that the players are getting the virus not at work. Not at work. In order for them to even play, players have to test negative twice consecutively. So, and that's the thing, though, is, are we sure that the tests are good? Because keep this in mind, too. You remember, I don't know if you remember this story, but Bob Nightingale, who I had on my show a couple of weeks ago, said, like, Juan Soto, who got COVID, tested positive for COVID, and he tested positive the day that the Nationals were supposed to play the Yankees in the first game of the season. Right?
Yeah.
Since that day, I think he just got cleared, like just now.
Yeah.
Since that day, he's tested negative 6 times. None of them were consecutive. Like, so he's gone positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. Like, you've got to make sure that the tests that you're running are good. And it's just like, there's a lot of, obviously there's a lot of question marks, but it all depends on, again, how you perceive what the situation is like. Right. You know what I mean? Like, if 0 positive tests is your goal, then bubble is the only option. If you're comfortable with a positive test here and there, which Major League Baseball, quite frankly, Major League Baseball has over, it's going to be 1,000+ people that are employed and involved with the gameplay right now directly, right? That's, including the 900 or so players and however many more staffers. I don't know the exact number. And you've only had something about like what, 40 or so positive tests? Yeah. And they were all at different times. Like, it's just, it's a little different. I don't think that the perception of what's successful and what isn't is accurate. I think Major League Baseball right now is successful. It's just they're going to get pressured into thinking they're not. That's what I think.
I mean, that's a fair point, man. That's a fair point. Listen, let's be hopeful that we can have baseball, but both of us we're on the down for baseball right now. Moving to the NBA, Mike, who you like?
I am still rolling with the Lakers at the top. I think LeBron and Anthony Davis from Game 1 looked like they worked. I think it's just, it really has been a seamless fit from the beginning. But if you look at their roster, like, everybody panicked when Avery Bradley when Avery Bradley opted out of the bubble and Rajon Rondo got hurt in practice and everything. Like everybody panicked. It's like, oh boy, Lakers aren't a playoff contender anymore. I'm like, okay, listen, like, you're freaking out about 2 guys that average less than 10 points a game. Like, and I'm not saying they're not good players. Avery Bradley hurts a little. I'm not gonna deny that. Avery Bradley hurts a little bit, but you have star A, star B, rim protectors, and perimeter shooters. If you had to ask me what the 4 things you need on a championship team are, it's star A, star B, rim protectors, and perimeter shooters. That's it. That's it right there.
Right.
So, and they have all those things. Plus, people are automatically looking at the negative with the Lakers, right? People are saying, oh, LeBron looks a little sluggish. AD disappears in the fourth quarter. All of that thing, right? Even though AD will drop 36 and 13 in the first 3 quarters of the game, they'll say, oh, yeah, well, he goes 1 for 4 and scores 2 points in the fourth quarter. I'm like, well, listen, people used to say that about LeBron. Right? LeBron used to be LeBron would literally average 35, 15, and 10 in the finals, and they'd say, oh, it was a bad series because he didn't hit any game-winning shots. I'm like,
exactly.
This is just it's bizarre. But they're getting good play out of guys that you wouldn't expect, right? Dion Waiters has looked fantastic.
Listen,
Dion Waiters has been fantastic. J.R. Smith has logged some decent minutes. Alex Caruso has been fantastic. Like, they've gotten some good minutes out of it.
Besides that Toronto game. Yeah, besides that Toronto game, he had some bonehead turnovers, but he's been solid defensively. You know what I mean? And you don't ask for a lot out of him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he's not somebody that you're going to ask to give you 15 points and 5 assists. He's just a guy that is a plus-minus dynamo.
Right.
When he's on the court, good things happen. So you want to keep him out there as long as possible. However, you have to kind of rein him in because there's times where he gets a little reckless defensively, and he also gets reckless offensively when he over dribbles, over penetrates, and tries to see a guy at the side of his eye, and then he makes a turnover. So you got to kind of dial him in there. But I like what they have. I think that LeBron is just kind of on cruise control right now. He knows that he doesn't have to dial it up right now. They just
playoff LeBron is going to be different.
Right. They just clinched the West. There's no reason for them to go crazy right now. What they need to start doing is they need to start experimenting with some different lineups right now to see who can log some big minutes in the playoffs. Because you really don't need them to go full ball right now. It's already locked up. It doesn't matter.
I think your only staples in the starting lineup right now, you got 3 spots that you're sure are going to be in your starting lineup for the foreseeable future. Right. LeBron, AD, and Danny Green. Those are the only 3 spots that are locked in.
They gotta see what they can get out of Markieff Morris, because since they've gotten him, he's
the guy shoots, man. I mean, they gotta get him out in the corner and just let him go off.
Yeah. Vogel got to figure out a way to use him, man. The other team that I like, honestly, I like the Raptors, man.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm not gonna lie to you, they look good. You know what I mean?
They got into my finals bubble this week.
Yeah, man. Trust me, I am so high on them because the strategy that they used against the Lakers in regards to doubling AD early to get the ball out of his hands, and he registered that, he saw that, he gave the ball up, and they played into that, saying, okay, he's not being aggressive. So now we can be able to sink our teeth in everybody else, because if the star guy is not being aggressive, nobody else is going to go off either. And they kind of struggled all night because of that. So once they put that seed in his head, they just kept hammering it home, and they were just amazing, man. I like the way they play. They play like a team that hasn't won an NBA championship. They play like a team that's still hungry to win. You know what I mean? And you would think that there'd be some type of championship layover. There's none. There's really none.
They're incredibly well coached.
Yeah.
That's the thing is you can tell that there's a little bit of a fire in them.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a fire in them. They lost Kawhi.
Yeah.
And they're saying, listen, everybody kind of ruled them out. They were just we don't need Kawhi. People got to remember the Raptors were still really good last year when Kawhi didn't play.
Bro, they were 17-5 without him.
They were 17-5 without him. 17-5 without him. So that's the thing is I think the Raptors, it wouldn't surprise me if they went into the finals and they won the whole thing. It would not surprise me because let's be honest, I'm watching specifically, and I'm watching the Raptors play the Lakers, and that's again, that to me is that's the line. Like, that's the bar. You know what I mean? So let me just, I'll say this, though.
Van Fleet.
Kyle Lowry looks different.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry looks he's quicker. He's a little thinner. That's what Kyle Lowry looks different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You played against him. It was just, you know.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, bro. Listen, he is a different animal. You know what I mean? And it's like, I've never seen this guy in the NBA. Like, he looks like somebody who's like in year 4. He just looks re-energized. You know what I mean?
Kyle Lowry's been in the league for a long time, too.
Yeah,
he's been in the league for a while.
He's an old guy, man. So it's like, you know, that was one of the things while I was watching the game. I'm like, they're letting Kyle Lowry bust him up like this. Like, this is not the same dude. And I like that about him. You know what I mean? What's another team that I'm thinking about, too, that really looks good?
Boston.
Boston looks great.
Boston looks good.
Boston looks great.
The Celtics look good.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I love Jason Tatum. I don't like, what's his name? What's the other guy's name?
Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward.
Brown too much. Yeah, Jaylen Brown. I'm still not sold on him, but Jason Tatum, that kid is a professional scorer. Like, I said it when he came out. I was like, this dude is gonna be one of those guys to give you 25, and then you're not even gonna realize it until you look at the box score and he filled it up. Like, yo, he just hung 40 on me. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of smooth game that he has.
I will say this: Jason Tatum. When I scouted him in 2017, when I was doing draft scouting for that class, Jason Tatum is like my 6th overall player or something like that. And my big problem with him is I didn't know if he could maintain consistency. But I've had my reservations about Tatum only because when he played in college, he wasn't consistent. He was just kind of
he wasn't.
You know,
he wasn't.
He wasn't necessarily a good shooter in college. He was a good shot creator. He was really good off the dribble, and that was really all he was good at. But ever since he's been into the NBA, and I was talking about this with my fiance even, I was just like look at Jason Tatum's jump shot. Like, it is just so crisp. It is so smooth. Like,
and the thing is, on balance too. He's always balanced when he shoots. That's the most important thing about scoring, is that when your body is not centered, that's when you start to see the jump shot kind of, you know, hit the right, hit the left, hit the back of the backboard. Like, once you have that center of gravity good, it doesn't matter how you put it up.
Right.
You're gonna have a high percentage chance of making that basket. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what I see it. That's what I see the difference between year 3 and year 1 in regards to his balance. Like, his balance is so much better. So much better. He's more under control. He knows exactly what he wants to do. There's no second guessing in his movements.
Right.
You can tell exactly where he wants to go. He has his spots, he's hitting his spots, and he knows exactly where to go. Like, the dude he's on the next level, man. Another level.
He's fantastic. And again, Boston that's another team, extremely well coached. Brad Stevens is unbelievable. And I'll say this, they're young and they're hungry. This is a young, hungry basketball team. Like, I'll say that I want to, give this guy a little bit of recognition too, because I don't talk about him that much. He's not a superstar, but he's just that, like, he is. What's the word I'm trying to look for? He's that guy that deserves the recognition that doesn't get any. You know what I mean? Marcus Smart looks amazing.
He's an unsung hero. Yep.
Marcus Smart looks. He's a pest defensively, and first game in the bubble he dropped 23. Like, people got to remember, like, Marcus Smart is not just a defensive threat. He can put up points.
Well, remember, when he was at Oklahoma State, he was a problem. He was such a good scorer.
Him and LeBron Nash were ridiculous.
Right. Once he got to the NBA, his efficiency and I just don't know. He just could not get his confidence down on the offensive end. So he just said, you know what? Let me put all of my energy into playing defense, being a great role player. But this guy was a great scorer. You know what I mean? So if he can be able to tap into that, a little bit and give them some offensive punch that they've been missing from him since he's been there, could you imagine how much better the Celtics will be?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you.
Crazy.
I am with you 100%. It
Listen,
is.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say this is why I like Boston over teams like Milwaukee, and I like them over Toronto too. But this is why I like Boston over Milwaukee. Is like
I think Boston is my favorite, man. I'm not gonna lie. I think they're my leader
East.
to get on the East. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. They've been mine. I think for a little bit. They've been mine for a little bit because, again, I know what I'm going to get out of Giannis every night, right? I know that I'm going to get 30 and 14 and 5 assists or whatever, and he's going to shoot 55, 56% from the floor.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I'm getting out of Chris Middleton. That's the problem I have is Chris Middleton in the first game of the bubble, right? The Bucks played the Celtics. The Bucks won, I think, by like 7.
Yeah.
But Chris Middleton shot 6 for 20 and had 18 points. I get inconsistency with him, but they snuck by the Celtics by about that much. And Kemba Walker was on a minutes restriction, and Jason Tatum that game shot 2 for 18 and had 5 points. That's what worries me about the Bucks is
that should scare you.
The Celtics' 2 best players had off nights. Well, I guess Kemba Walker not really an off night, but he again didn't even play half the game.
Right.
And the Bucks narrowly beat them while they're fully healthy, fully fledged. I mean, Chris Middleton and Giannis played it 35 minutes apiece or something. They played a full-fledged game. It wasn't.
And that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing with them is that if Chris Middleton is your second best player,
I don't think he's a 2. I really don't.
Problems. No, he's a 3. He's a 3.
He's a really good 3. He's not a 2.
He will be a perfect 3 guy, 3 and D, because he plays good defense. He can hit the 3 ball, but to rely on him as your secondary scorer, you're putting more pressure on everybody else. And they don't have that type of roster because George Hill is not that good. You have they got Brook Lopez who's playing great. They got a lot of bigs that can shoot, but depth-wise, they don't have a lot of depth. And the struggling with Chris Middleton, I don't think it's going to go away. I think he's going to continue to struggle, and he's going to have to try to become a high-volume shooter for them to have a shot. And he's not that guy. You know what I mean? Like you're going to need him to go from probably putting up 17 shots a game to maybe increasing that to about 21 or 22. And that's going to put more strain on their offense. You're putting more strain on Giannis. He's going to have to make more decisions. And when you put him in these high-pressure situations, sometimes Giannis doesn't make the right move. He doesn't make the right decision because he's still growing. He's still young. He's still a young guy. Yeah, he's still a young guy. So it's like there's times where he over-dribbles, he over-commits, and he gets himself in trouble. Like, think about the Rockets game. They had that game in hand, and the only reason why they lost that game is because they had 4 turnovers in the last 5 possessions.
Right.
That's why they lost the game. You gave a team that shoots a lot of threes a whole bunch of chances to get back in the game.
Right.
What do you think?
Exactly.
So,
we got a question in the question in the comments on what we think about the Nuggets.
I am not sold. I am so they are. Man, I'm trying to come up with the best word, man. Like
they're just not there yet. That's the thing. Is like I love Jokic. I love Jokic, but they just this is a team that's got a lot of things. I think they could probably use another rim protector. I'm like Mason Plumlee is okay, but he's not. He's they need a block and a half guy. You know what I mean? Right. Mason Plumlee's not that. So, if I like the fact that they got a lot of shooters, they're actually very deep. Yeah. But Jokic's star A, they don't have star B. Like that's the thing. Like, and I love what Michael Porter Jr. is showing so far. I really do. I think that kid's going to be real good real soon. But they don't have the star power. And I love Jamal Murray. But he's not a star. He's just a good player.
That's my biggest question mark with this team is that they have a lot of guys that are good, but they're not consistent. They're not consistently good. So like Jamal Murray, he'll give you 35 tonight and then come back the next game and drop 12.
That was his problem in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's his
problem in Kentucky. Jamal Murray Jamal Murray on every other night looked like the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
And then those nights in between, he shot 4 for 16. Like, it's just that's the player that Jamal Murray is.
Yeah. So we got some people here that want to talk about the Blazers. What do you think about Portland?
They're whatever. I mean, like, I hate to say it that way, but like Portland, I'm not sure Portland makes the playoffs. Like, that's, I just, like,
well, I think,
listen,
I think they make the playoffs because, you know, Jalen, what's his name? Jaren Jackson is hurt. He's out for the season.
Maybe.
So they may be able to sneak in there and get that 8th spot. Do I think that they're going to have a shot against the Lakers? They may win 1 or 2 games, but they're not going to win the series. They're not going to win the series. But, you know, kudos to Melo, man. Melo looks good. Melo, I think he found somewhere that they can actually utilize his skills the way he wants to. Because remember, he's not just a spot-up guy. You know, they use him in the block. They use him in kind of one-on-one matchups, triple threat situations. They give him all of these type of different, you know, positions to execute and attack. And that's where he feels comfortable. So I've been trashing Melo all year, but I got to give him some respect. Listen,
Melo's only problem is, like, Melo was never at a point where he couldn't play. Right? Melo was never at a point where he couldn't play. But Melo's biggest thing is that, like,
his ego.
Once he got ousted by New York, right? Once New York let him go, he couldn't accept not being a star.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when he went to Houston, he wanted to go hand in hand with Harden, and D'Antoni was like, "No, you're not that player. Like, you're not that guy." But Melo is a good post player and a really good spot up shooter, and that's all Melo is, and that's all Melo has to be. And now that he's kind of accepted that role in Portland, now he's flourishing a little bit.
Right.
Like Melo could always play. Like, it's never been about how
Melo
was washed up or anything like that. It's that Melo wasn't a star anymore.
And on top of that, he wasn't at that time. He wasn't willing to accept the role of what other people, and that's why a lot of teams kind of shied away from it, because they were like, okay, well, listen, we love you, we think you're a great player, but are you going to accept the role that we're giving you, that we're offering you? Because you're such a great player, you're a Hall of Famer. Are you willing to take this reduced role in our offense that we need you in? And sometimes the answer was no. Because, you know, you remember the interview back in OKC? Oh, they want me to come off the bench. Like, that's what everybody thought that he would say. That you don't want to be a bench guy. So
they want me to come off the bench in OKC. Yeah. And Melo actually was a good fit in OKC.
He was.
As a talent. But as a mentality guy, it didn't work.
He wasn't there yet.
Westbrook was alpha, Paul George was beta, and Carmelo was just one of the guys, and he couldn't accept that.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm laughing because I'm already asking about, what do you think about Houston?
Listen, if you're going to ask me, are they a top 10 team in the NBA? Yes, they are. The Rockets are a top 10 team in the NBA.
Yeah, they're top 10. They're at 10.
No, I'd put them at like 7 or 8. Because outside of, like, you got what? The Lakers, the Clippers, the Celtics, Bucks, Raptors, Denver. I would probably still take Denver over Houston, but outside of that, I don't think I have anybody else over them. I'm not taking Miami over the Rockets. I wouldn't take Miami over the Rockets. I wouldn't take OKC. You're nuts.
I would take Miami.
No
would
way.
take Miami over Houston. Yeah.
Why?
Because
I like Miami, but
for one, they're better coached. For two, they have a star player that's actually clutch. For three, they have good rim protection and a good a good team. Like, their roster is pretty good.
Rim protection. It's not great. I like Bam.
It's better than Houston.
But Bam is not a grade A interior defender. Let's not pretend like he's something that he's not. But listen, I love Miami. I love Miami. But as far as Houston's concerned, I've never bought them. I never have, and it's everything that I've said about the Rockets has proven exactly right. So And they've done even more to prove that, right? That Daryl Morey hit, and I've always given Daryl Morey credit because he's a guy that keeps things moving. He's not a guy that's complacent and says, okay, my team's good enough. No, he's always looking to make improvements. I've always given him credit for that.
Yeah,
but like Westbrook and Harden can't play together. They just can't.
No.
Like that's the thing. It's like you're gonna get a good amount of really good Westbrook Harden nights, right? Their good is really good. Really good. When they're both hitting shots and the ball is moving and it's not so isolation and it's like, like all of those things. If that's the Rockets you get, then the Rockets are real. But the majority of the time, what you're getting is Westbrook and Harden are going to put up crazy numbers, right? Westbrook's going to put up 28, 7 and 10, right? Harden's going to put up 35, 9 and 6. Like that's what their numbers are going to look like. But combined, they're going to shoot 39% from the field, and everybody else in their team they're not even going to touch double digits. Like that's their issue. Is they're two ball-centric, inefficient guards that need the ball all the time, where if you look back to the season prior, the two guys with the highest usage rates in the entire NBA were Westbrook and Harden, 1 and 2. I'm like,
and listen,
those are literally the two guys that need the ball the most.
Think about it from this aspect too, Mike. Like when you talk about basketball, just the fundamentals of basketball when you're playing on a team, if they teach you win the rebound battle, win the turnover battle, and 9 times out of 10 win the free throw battle, 9 times out of 10 you'll be able to control that game and win that game. The Rockets get out rebounded 20 plus every game.
Exactly. They have no size.
They are beat in the paint by 20 plus every game. And how do you and then on top of that, they're not.
They got to start playing that 7-foot German kid.
Yeah, they're not exactly.
give Isaiah Hartenstein some minutes to play.
Right. And it's like how do you expect them to be good long term? Like, they may be good in flashes. But you're seeing the disparity in regards to size. Just being a bigger team, you may not even have to be a better team than Houston. But if you're a bigger team, as a Houston Rockets player, it's harder. It's more energy that you're putting in there because you got to guard big guys. You got to try to shove them out the paint. You're exuding. You're putting out more energy out there than you have to, and that means that tired legs in the fourth quarter. So your shots are not falling. You're not getting back on defense, turning the ball over more. You're jacking up worse shots, like low percent shots. That's what they're doing. If you notice, every time, that's exactly what they're doing.
Someone in the comments just said because the German kid can't shoot threes. Let me just tell you something. Yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
Isaiah Hartenstein can hit threes. You just got to let him. I am telling you right now, Hartenstein can hit threes.
D'Antoni just doesn't want to use it.
I scouted the kid. He was hitting threes at like 40% in Europe. It was unbelievable how he could shoot. D'Antoni is going. There's 3 reasons why the Houston Rockets won't win, right, Mike? Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Mike D'Antoni. They're all on the same team. You have a coach that does not make adjustments. He refuses to change. The ball doesn't move.
The ball doesn't move. And now you have these 2 guys who have not proven themselves in the playoffs together. How are you? Who are we supposed to trust? Who's the ball going to? Who's the ball going to? Like I really don't see. I really don't see how they're going to be able to really have a shot. Maybe if they go against the Clippers, that'll be an interesting series due to the fact that you have these 2 superstars on the Clippers. You have 2 superstars on the Rockets. They'll cancel each other out, but what about the role players? The Clippers have better role players, so they'll end up winning the game. The
Clippers might have the best overall roster in the NBA. Like their roster is so talented, but and I'm sure we'll talk about the Clippers at some point, but I agree with you. I think the Rockets are in a position where everything has to go right for them in order for them to win games. Everything has to go right. And they've done well in the bubble so far. I will admit, they've done well in the bubble. They're winning basketball games. but it's because Westbrook and Harden are shooting at least, like I've always said this about James Harden, and I think you'll appreciate this. Like James Harden has always been that guy that like he'll score 28 points, but he'll go 4 for 20 and have 20 points from the free throw line. Like that's James Harden. He's chunky and annoying. Like he just like that's the kind of James Harden he is. He throws his body around. He's very flaily.
Listen,
like
for the last 5 years, nobody has shot and attempted more free throws than James Harden in the history of the NBA.
Exactly.
Like that's how crazy he's been in regards to knowing how to get to the line.
I wonder if that's the same thing with just shots. I wonder if anybody in the NBA, I don't know what this number is, but I wonder if anybody else in the NBA has taken more shots in the last 5 years than James Harden. I can't imagine that being the case.
It may be Westbrook and Harden.
Maybe Westbrook. Honestly, and that's the thing, is the only guy that you'd think of in that situation also is Westbrook.
Right.
So, I don't know.
It's interesting, man. It's interesting. It's
Bizarre.
very, very interesting. Yeah.
But, all right. What's next?
What's next? Let's see. I guess we can cover one more team before we call it a night.
Sure.
Let's talk about the Clippers for a little bit. What do you think their chances are at getting out of the Western Conference?
I would say that they are clearly the second best team. Like I think the Clippers are clearly the second best team in the West. So Lakers and Clippers are going to be 1 and 2. They're in a class of their own, and then it's everybody else. Like who else in the West would be a real threat? Like think about it. Like Denver's not a real threat. OKC's not a real threat. Portland's not a real threat. Like it's just after that, Utah doesn't have Bogdanovich. They're not,
Utah.
They're not a real threat.
Utah has looked the worst in the bubble to me so far.
Well, they're hurt and their chemistry's not great because I think Donovan Mitchell is still mad at Rudy Gobert. You know what I mean? So, which I'll be honest with you, if I'm Donovan Mitchell, get the hell over it.
Get over it.
Get over it, dude. Like for real. And listen, I like Donovan Mitchell, I really do, and I like Rudy Gobert. I don't think Rudy Gobert intended to do anything wrong. Like, no. Come on, forgive the guy. Give me a break.
He's a young guy. He did a very young, stupid, immature thing, and just move on. Like this, you guys.
He apologized to everyone. Rudy Gobert apologized to the whole team.
Like how many times do you want the guy to apologize?
Realize what I was doing.
How many times do you want the guy to apologize? Like, just get over it. Get over it.
For real. We just got a comment that says he wants out.
Yeah,
maybe he does. Maybe he does.
Maybe
he does. I don't want to go that far into thinking, oh, yeah, definitely, but maybe he does.
Yeah.
Maybe he does. Maybe he just wants out of you. I mean, listen, there are nicer cities in the world than Salt Lake City. It's right. No disrespect, but you know what I mean? Maybe he wants to go play in Miami with Jimmy Butler or something. Who knows?
Maybe he wants to come to New York.
I don't know why anybody would want that. But I'll be honest. First of all, New York as a state stinks, and the Knicks as an organization stink. So I don't know why anybody would want that. Plus, Manhattan ain't all it's cracked up to be. Sorry.
No. But listen, here's my dark horse team to beat the Clippers in the playoffs. It's the Mavs. I think the Mavs can beat them.
Really?
I think the Mavs can beat them. Yes, because what I'm seeing from the Clippers right now, they look great, right? They look good, but you can kind of like dissect them a little bit. Kawhi doesn't look like he's on top of his game defensively yet. It seems like he's still a little bit behind. Yeah.
I'll tell you who is LeBron.
Exactly.
LeBron is playing like the best defensive player in the league right now.
Yeah, he is. But do you agree with me on Kawhi that he doesn't look quite right defensively?
Yeah, I you know what I think I do. I've always said this about the Clippers is that this is a team that is wildly talented, but they are also wildly inconsistent. And it isn't really from a numbers perspective. It's more from effort. Yeah. Like it's an effort thing. You know what I mean? Like the Clippers they've had this thing in the locker room where they they don't like how Kawhi and Paul George get preferential treatment or anything along those lines. Like, no. But I do think that, and I think you're going to appreciate this about the Clippers, is I think there's a real chemistry thing in the Clippers too. I think their chemistry is not great either.
I agree.
And the reason I'm saying that is because, like, again, PG has missed so much time.
Yep.
Kawhi has missed so much time.
Yep.
Where, like, they're still trying to kind of figure it out, right? LeBron and AD had it like that. Like, it was just, there was no problem. Game one, you're just like, oh, yeah, okay, yep, they work. Yeah. Like, no, it's not like that with the Clippers. You know, they're still trying to, there's a little bit of awkwardness with the ball and where the ball should go and everything like that. So I think there's something like that. But keep this in mind too, right? Barry, if you and I went on a week's vacation together, you and I would have the time of our lives, right? Yeah. You and I would have a ton of fun. If we spent 3 months together, we'd drive each other crazy. Like,
yeah, I want to kill you. I want to go through a window.
You hate your best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Clippers are going to be locked in the same hotel with each other for 3 straight months, hanging out with nothing but each other and not even with their family. They don't get a break, nothing. They're going to end up hating their best friend.
You made a good point. It's either they're going to come together or they're going to just drift farther apart. That's exactly what's going to happen. And the thing is, I said it on my show on one of my episodes that the Clippers, to me, feel like an IS-8 team. That was just put together with a whole bunch of talent, but they don't know each other. So they're just playing basketball, and when things get tight, you kind of see the indecision, like the indecisiveness. They just don't know what to do, who gets the ball, who needs to be where. And that's going to be a problem going into the playoffs because the playoffs are not a time for you to figure it out. You better be locked in and ready to go for the playoffs.
You got to have it figured out.
You got to have it figured out. And that's why I say that the Mavericks may have a chance to steal. I really do believe that. Listen, Luka is gonna give them fits, and I think they have a good enough roster to be able to push the Clippers farther than what the Clippers are comfortable with. Like,
I think I'm not sure I would go as far as the Mavs beat the Clippers. I think the Mavs will give the Clippers a hard time because Luka's going to get his. The big thing that I'm concerned about too about the Clippers if they do play Dallas is the Clippers don't have a matchup. Just like they don't have a matchup for Anthony Davis, they don't have a matchup for Porzingis either.
Nope.
And Porzingis is bigger. Porzingis is like 6 inches taller than AD.
Right.
And you can shoot threes better. So
and the thing that I hate is that everybody, all the analysts talk about, when Montrez comes back. Listen, Montrez is good. He's a great
6'7".
He's
Montrezl Harrell is 6'7".
6'7". So at the end of the day, as good as he is defensively, in a 7-game series against any big, they're going to wear you down. They're going to wear you down. Period. It's just going to happen. Like, if my team is bigger, we're going to wear you down in 7 games. That's just the way it is.
Right.
So that's going to take. And think about it. If the Clippers keep going deep into these playoff rounds, say the Mavs push them to 6 or 7, then they get to the next round. By the time they get to the Western Conference Finals, they are going to be a team that is very beat up and very tired. And there is no load management going into the playoffs. You can't load manage in the playoffs. You have to play.
You got to play.
They're gonna have issues, man. That's why, they are a talented team. But Mr. Load Manage, I don't trust him. I just don't trust him. I really don't. I don't trust Kawhi Leonard. And I don't trust Paul George either because he's never shown you in the playoffs that he can be trusted. He's never shown you that. So why would you believe that that's going to change now? He didn't show you in OKC. He didn't show you in Indiana. Indiana, he didn't show you. He did not show you anywhere. So,
yeah, people got to remember that too. Paul George struggles in the playoffs.
Struggles mightily. Yeah.
Struggles. And listen, Paul George is a phenomenal basketball player.
Right.
Phenomenal. I could make the argument that Paul George is, based on all-around talent, he's a top
we got 10 seconds.
8, 9, 10 player in the game.
Yeah, we got 10 seconds.
All right.
5. So, listen, it was fun. Next week, we're going to do it again.